Good morning, everyone. This is Abhay Kumar Rai, lecturer of English, welcoming you all to the webinar and online special lecture series organized by Department of English of Malda College. Our today's topic is Gender Performance and the Restoration, Reading Congreves the Way of the World. And we have among us today Dr. Shomipendra Banerjee, Assistant Professor of English, University of Gurbango, who will deliver an insightful lecture on today's topic. Dr. Banerjee has been teaching English literature in the postgraduate level for more than a decade now. He has completed his PhD from Vishwabharati Shantiniketan on historiography and politics of post-independence Indian English drama. He leads the drama club of UGB and acts and directs plays with his students. These include Brecht's Galileo and Shantras Shoptalk, an adaptation of Carol Churchill's Seven Jewish Children in 2018 and 19. He received an international travel grant to present his research at the IFTR conference at University of Sao Paulo, Brazil in 2017. In 2019, he completed the prestigious course from the National School of Drama, New Delhi. His areas of interest are modern Indian theatre, 19th century Bengali theatre, and gender studies. I cordially welcome you, sir, to this online session, and I am leaving the rest to you as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Abhay. So we will just start right away. Am I audible properly?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, so we can start. I mean,
yes, sir.
Yeah, again, once again, before I start, a big thanks to Malda College for creating this opportunity for me through this web platform to deliver a talk on the way of the world. I'm really thankful to Malda College for this. That's number one. Secondly, thank you, Abhay, for this generous introduction. Okay, so straight away, the title of my talk today is Gender Performance and the Restoration, Reading Congreves the Way of the World. Now, the first thing that occurred to me right now when Abhay was reading out the title, it occurred to me that it could be gender performance. It's actually not gender performance. It is gender, performance. Okay. But yes, of course, I mean, there is this wonderful dimension of gender performativity as well. So when we are not using the comma, then we actually mean gender performance. That is gender as a performance. But if we are using the comma, then it is gender and performance, gender as separate and distinct from performance. So the way of the world and the whole of the restoration offers these curious, meeting points, which we would discuss. Okay, the other thing is we will talk about the way of the world. We will talk about the context, that is the restoration, the context of the restoration theater primarily. And we would also talk about the performance. We would also talk about the actors and the actresses. And finally, there would be a textual component as well. So for the benefit of the students. এবং আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি যে এখানে মূলত ছাত্রছাত্রীরাই আছো, সুতরাং তোমাদের জন্য আমি কিন্তু কিছুটা বাংলা এবং কিছুটা ইংরেজি মিশিয়ে যেভাবে আমি ক্লাসে বলে থাকি সেটাই আমরা এখানেও করতে চলেছি, রাইট? So it all begins with so we have to basically go back to 1642. In 1642, we all know that England was engaged in a battle, in a civil war between the royalists and the Puritans, at the end of which the Puritans were victorious. And this was not just another war, another civil war, because it had very important socio-political dimensions and an impact, okay, that changed the course of theater and culture in England, right? So, but all of us know about it. I'll just briefly recollect it once for the benefit of all of you. So what happened was that it was in 1649 King Charles the First was beheaded. Okay, and with the beheading of King Charles the First, the Puritans assumed power, and what followed from 1649 onwards is a kind of a Puritan interregnum, which Oliver Cromwell was leading. But after Oliver Cromwell's death, the Puritans started losing control gradually, and we have a new order once again in the Bay. So King Charles, after King Charles the First was beheaded, his son King Charles II, he fled England and he went over to France. We often assume that, and he later came and succeeded the throne once the Puritans had become considerably powerless, right? So, but we all often assume that it is King Charles I was entirely in France, which is wrong. King Charles II was not only in France but also in Spain and Italy and the Netherlands. So, what was happening was that when he returned in 1660, remember that he didn't return. It was not a thing like that. He returned because he was invited. He returned because he was, brought back. He was asked by the parliament to come back and take charge. So once he came back in 1660, it was a public opinion that wanted Charles II to be back, right? And when he came back, it was entirely new. People were overjoyed. They took the streets. So it was the restoration of monarchy, which is why we refer this as restoration, right? And this restoration, the restoration is the restoration of the Stuart line of monarchy. I think there is some sound outside of the cars passing by. So just tell me if this is a problem, then I'll just try to do something about it. Anyway.
No, it's okay. It's okay, sir.
It's okay. Okay, fine. So it's the restoration of the monarchy that we are concerned with, and it's the restoration of the Stuart line with Charles II coming back to the throne. Now, what happened was that in 1642, all of you know that the theaters were closed down. In 1642, the Puritans were absolutely against the theaters. We know that we have had a wonderful tradition of theater during the Renaissance, and after the Renaissance, the Jacobean period was entirely different, was quite different. There was a lot of violence and bloodshed and gory massacres that were being shown. And all of this led on the Puritans to consider and to take an anti-theatrical stance. There is a notion of anti-theatricality. Now, anti-theatricality or the anti-theater is an opposition of the theater. The anti-theater might mean a lot of things, but primarily it is the opposition to theater that the Puritans began. And the Puritans were very harsh about it. They believed that it is because of the theater that the society is being filled up with vices, because the theaters are portraying almost all the ills of life. So which is why it is unnecessary for people to flock to the theaters, and therefore they should stop doing it. Okay. So once these theaters, so the Puritans did their best to close down all the theaters. Now see 42 to 60. So 18 long years that the theaters were closed. There was no theater, absolutely. No public theater. But although it is not true that there was absolutely no theater, because there were private small performances here and there. We will come back to this, which is a very interesting thing later on maybe. So, but on the whole, there was no public theater in these 18 years. So when it returned, in 1660, it was entirely new. Now you see, because Charles II was anti-Puritan, the first thing that he would do is he would try to go against all that the Puritans had done, right? Isn't it? So Charles II এর প্রথম কাজ হলো ফিরে এসে রাজা হয়ে থিয়েটার্স গুলোকে রিস্টোর করা। কিন্তু এটা কেবলমাত্র একটা পলিটিক্যাল ডিজায়ার এগেইনস্ট দ্য পিউরিটানস তার জন্য নয়, এটা কিন্তু এই জন্য যে বিকজ চার্লস II had spent a long time of his life, the formative years of his life, in Europe, in the continental, circuits, and he had been influenced by the theater in France, by the Commedia dell'arte tradition in Italy. So he was a supporter. He was a great patron of the theater. Thanks to the Restoration world, Charles II greatly supported the theater. So which is why he ordered restoration of the theaters as well. But the theaters were totally ravaged, razed to the grounds. So what could be done? The only thing that could be done was that the theaters had to be reconstructed. So Charles II issued patents. Duto royal patents issue kora holo. Ekta Thomas Killigrew ke jini King's Company King's Company set up korlen, Drury Lane Theatre jetake bola hoy. Ar ekta hocche William de Avenant. William de Avenant kintu was a veteran. William de Avenant was an important theater practitioner from the times of Charles I. So when William de Avenant was also given this royal patent to reconstruct a theater, and this was at Dorset Gardens. তাহলে এই দুটো থিয়েটারের রয়্যাল পেটেন্ট নিয়ে থিয়েটার আবার তার যাত্রা শুরু করলো। এবার এই রিকনস্ট্রাকশনের কাজটা একটা বিশাল ব্যয়বহুল ব্যাপার ছিল, কারণ একদম শূন্য থেকে শুরু করতে হয়েছিল, ঠিক আছে? You know that when it is very difficult to rebuild from the scratch. You have to start over, right? So in order to start over, and these were lavishly decorated theater halls. So what happened was that the huge expense that these rebuilding of the theaters involved would have to be taken by of course, the ticket prices, right? And the ticket prices went high up. এর আগে রেনেসাতে আমরা জানি যে অডিয়েন্স ফিল ইন করতো স্টেজগুলোকে, তারা মূলত they came from all classes. Okay, there were the nobility as well as the laborers and the peasants. They were the groundlings. They filled up the rabble, okay, in the Renaissance theater. But now, after the Restoration, the minimum entry fee, that is the ticket price, was 1 shilling, which was very high for the poor, which is why the poor started staying away. Not only the poor, but also the middle classes started staying away from these theaters. And that is why gradually the Restoration theater became an entirely upper class affair. Okay? An entirely upper class affair, a place, the theater became a place where the Restoration nobility, the aristocracy, the court, basically, they started attending the place. And we all know theaters are written for not only theaters, film scripts are written today, and I'm talking about today. Film scripts and theaters are written and performed for its audience, right? You have an audience, you have a target audience in mind. So because it was filled up by these courtly classes, the new theaters that emerged were entirely devoted to the nobility. So the topics changed, the subject changed. Primarily, it was an upper class theater. It was an urban theater that started emerging. Now, in the early periods, okay. Now, what do we understand by the Restoration, right? Now, when you talk of the Restoration, you see, or the Restoration theater, or in our case, for the Way of the World, the Restoration Comedy of Manners. Now, this has a lot to do with Charles II, but this has not entirely any connection with Charles II, or not. It is not a monolithic, it is not a singular movement, okay, which is kind of unproblematic. That is, you see, the Way of the World is first performed in 1700, and Charles II's reign ends in 1685. So Charles II is not the only factor for the period that we understand as Restoration. Now, again, we need to understand that there are two things to this. One, the Restoration politically. The Restoration period politically would refer only to the up to 1685. The Restoration period in English literature, however, extends or stretches till 1700. Okay, so the Restoration period in English literature is up to 1700, but the Restoration politically is up to only the reign of Charles II. because after Charles II, his brother James II comes to throne. And after James II, there is another major event that is taking place in 1688. What is that? The Glorious Revolution, or the Bloodless Revolution, which is where, again, out of these legacy issues, the parliament is inviting William of Orange from the Netherlands. And because he married Mary, the daughter of James II, so William and Mary are invited to reign over England. So again, certain changes are taking place. And remember, neither James II nor William and Mary were active supporters of the theatre, like Charles II used to be. So by the time these new monarchs are coming in, several transformations are taking place always in the context of the theatre, right? So these are the things that are happening, because there is an emergence of a new merchant class as well, which we will talk of about later on. Okay, so, and just after Charles II is coming over to the throne, Charles II is facing several challenges. Abhay, can you please show some of the pictures that I had to show, actually?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
you just prepare it. So just after Charles II is coming to the throne, he is facing several challenges. The first of it is the Great Plague, right? And today, when we are stuck in our homes in these difficult times of the coronavirus, we are referring
Is
back.
it visible, sir?
Yes, we are referring back to the idea of the plague, right? Because the plague was the last pandemic that we had seen, that history has seen. And England was struck by the plague during the Renaissance and also during the Restoration. So during Charles II's reign in 1665, London was struck by the Great Plague. And I have some, yes, you can show it now. So some photos of the plague. I'll just quickly talk about the plague, and then move on to the next event. Oh, I can't see it. Right. Oh, sorry. I didn't miss. I missed it. So yeah, you see here it's the plague in 1665. Yeah, the first one was. Yeah, just stop over. I'll just talk about these. If you saw the first one, then dead bodies were being carried in carts, and in the second there is greater anxiety. In the first, there was lesser anxiety. People were smoking and they were carefree. But here, this is something that is closer to what we are doing right now. People are covering their faces and the dead bodies are scattered here and there. There were about 200,000 people who died of plague, and there was a system of the quarantine also that was practiced there. One of the very interesting texts that many webinars, many speakers in webinars are now talking of is Defoe's Journal of the Plague Year. I hope all of you are aware of this. The Journal of the Plague Year was published in 1722 by Daniel Defoe. And this actually, although it was published in 1722, this actually was talking of the plague in 1665, how people were dying and there were these mortality bills. Okay, the next one, please. The next one is another interesting thing, not directly related, but again connected to, you see, this is the plague doctor. Okay, the mask of the plague doctor, and this is something similar to what we are wearing. One of the most interesting features of the plague doctor of the 17th century was that the use of the beak, the use of the long beak, which was meant to protect the doctor from any kind of transmission or any kind of contagion. Okay, right. So the next year was also not very nice. Charles II had to fight the plague, and in next, please. And in the next year, in 1666, we have the Great Fire of London. London was preparing for winter, and it was supposed to be a difficult winter. So people had stacked up these, all sorts of wooden pieces and fuel, and it was a dry year, and suddenly the fire caught, and it had razed the entire city of London. Thousands and thousands of houses were burned down. Reportedly, about 87 churches were burned down, including St. Paul's Cathedral. And some people also say that it was because of the fire that the plague died out, right? And some people also say, I mean, critics also point out to this curious fact that these two events, the Great Plague and the Great Fire in 1665 and in 1666, led on to a reconstruction of London. So the emergence of London as an urban center was a result of these events that took place, because Charles II had to devote all his energies and all his money to reconstruction of England. Okay. Now, anyway, coming back to the next image is of, I think, the Dorset Gardens. Let's see the next, please.
স্যার একটু ডিস্টার্ব করছি।
Yes.
প্লেগ কি 1665 এ স্টার্ট হয়েছিল না 64 এ?
হ্যাঁ, 64 এ স্টার্ট হয়েছিল, but 65 is regarded as the year of the plague. Okay, because
ওকে স্যার, আমি কোথাও পড়েছিলাম 1664, তাই এ হলো।
Yeah, I mean, these things are there. It didn't end in 1665. It was an event that was carrying on.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You know, I hope all of you can see the image properly, because since I am using a mobile screen, maybe it is not showing properly. Anyway, so this is the Dorset Gardens Theatre, right? And you see there is an elaborate, lavish design. Why I'm showing this is because I mean, you have to understand the lavishness and the elaborate design that's painted here. This is the stage, mind you. This is not the gate. This is the stage, and the painter is standing on the edge of the thrust stage. So this was another feature of the Restoration stage, the notion of the apron stage or the thrust stage. Something that Restoration, a tradition that Restoration was carrying over from the Renaissance. Because in the Renaissance also we have seen stages that were jutting into the audience. So এই যে বেরিয়ে থাকা স্টেজের অংশটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি এখনো আমরা এপ্রন স্টেজ বা থ্রাস্ট স্টেজ কিছুটা ইউজ করি, আগের মতো অতটা ড্রামাটিক নয়, কিন্তু অনেকটাই। কার্টেনটা যখন পড়ে যায়, কার্টেনের বাইরের যে অংশটা, স্টেজের যে অংশটা কার্টেনের ওপারে থাকে দর্শকের দিকে, এটাকে এপ্রন স্টেজ বা থ্রাস্ট স্টেজ বলা হয়। Okay, so this was the stage, and what else can you see here? I think all of you can see that there is in the background, there is an elaborate painting. Okay, so this is the other thing that was introduced in the Restoration theaters, elaborate movable background scenery. So the sets could be moved and shown. Okay, the next. In the next, I mean, we gradually now move over to some of the transformations that Restoration theater was bringing in. One was the movable stage, of course. One was the movable scenery, painted scenery. There were artificial lights that were used, and it also involved the introduction of the star actor and the women actress. So in this sense, the English Restoration comedies, I mean, Restoration theater in general, was instrumental in bringing to us the first women actresses. So that is very important. And this image that you can see here is of Sir Thomas Betterton. Sir Thomas Betterton, along with Charles Hart and others, were the leading actors of the day. And many of them were actor managers as well. So if we look back, I mean, what we have to learn from the Restoration theaters today in 2020 is that if we look back at the stage histories, if we look back at the alternative histories of the theater, then we come across certain very interesting features. I mean, I won't go into this, but do give this a thought that আজকের দিনে দাঁড়িয়ে আমরা কিন্তু মূলত একটা ডিরেক্টরস থিয়েটারের মধ্যে দিয়ে যাচ্ছি। ডিরেক্টরস থিয়েটার, এখানে ডিরেক্টর শেষ কথা বলেন, কিন্তু সেই সময় ডিরেক্টর অতটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট ছিলেন না, the phenomenon of the director was a later development. তখন কিন্তু actor managersরাই ছিল. Okay, the next image. The next image is probably the breeches role that I mean, yeah. Okay, so this is an 18th century painting. So this is a later painting, but remember that this is a woman. এদেরকে বলা হতো principal boys. Now, one major transformation that took place not only was the coming of the women on the stage, but also cross-dressing and also of gender roles, of switched gender roles. So here women were seen in the breeches roles, and breeches roles were written specifically for the women actresses, where women, by disguise or the other, they used to take up these roles of males, basically. They used to dress up as men. You know, during the Restoration world, dressing was very important, fashion was very important, and women dressing up in men's garments, in men's costumes was an interesting attraction, not only because it was different, but also because it provided another way of sexualizing, of objectifying the woman, right, on stage. So we will come to these later on. I mean, I will just refer to one interesting comment that Samuel Pepys has to make. Okay. And Samuel Pepys, in February 1663, Samuel Pepys wrote of a character called Moll Davis in disguise. And he said that in boys' apparel, she having very fine legs, only bends in the hams, as I perceive all women do. This indicates Samuel Pepys' lack of awareness of women's private lives, number one. And number two is how despite these male parts, despite a cross-dressing, despite a kind of a gender performance and a transformation into male roles, women were ultimately seen as objects of desire. Now, this is something that will form the crux of my argument later on as well, but I will return to this. Just remember for the time being that these breeches role were also very significant, and apart from the introduction of women, okay, on the stage for the first time. Right, so what do we have next? I think, yes, after this, basically we move over. Now, I will with the history of the Restoration theater for a while, because, we will talk about the audiences, right? Yes. Although it's not coming, has it come? The next image? Yes.
Yeah, I have just scrolled it. Can any one of the students, is it visible or not? Can any one of the students tell us?
Yes, it is visible.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So you see, this is a very famous painting, actually. I will briefly talk about this painting. This is known as The Laughing Audience by William Hogarth. Again, in my classes, in Restoration, I usually refer to Hogarth. Hogarth's paintings are very important because they are narrative paintings. They always tell a story. And they are very interesting and crucial critiques of the Restoration life. Now, this is one of the most direct paintings that refers to the theater. Hogarth has drawn some other paintings as well that talk of the theater. But here what we have is a direct depiction of the theater. You can see there are two classes of audiences. One, the first, I mean, the one in the foreground, who are enjoying the play. They are laughing. Probably they're looking at the stage. In the background, what we have are the boxes. The box seats where the nobility and the aristocracy used to seat themselves. And you can see what they're doing, basically flirting with these girls. Now, these girls are orange wrenches. orange branches or orange sellers, right? Who used to flock the theaters. You have to remember, you have to understand that there were huge gaps, large gaps between the scenes, which something that we do not understand if we read the play. If you read The Way of the World, you will get to Act 1, Scene 1, and Act 2, Scene 2 like that. But between these two scenes, there were long gaps. And during these scenes, these orange sellers, which was a profession, which was gaining as a profession, these orange sellers, primarily beautiful girls, would come in and sell oranges. And the orange sellers would be, flirted at by these nobility, by the aristocracy. And not only that, these orange sellers would also be used as messengers to establish contacts with the actresses who were performing on stage, because many of these actresses would later on enter into illicit relationships with the aristocracy. So all sorts of things were happening. And remember, the aristocracy came to the Restoration playhouses not only to see the play, but also to be seen, right? So being seen was very important as well. যে দেখো আমি কিন্তু এসেছি, আমি থিয়েটার দেখতে এসেছি, আমি একজন থিয়েটারের বোদ্ধা, I'm a connoisseur of theater. So এই ইমেজটাকে প্রজেক্ট করাটা অনেক বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ছিল, rather than enjoying the play. And of course, this is why the witty exchanges that we find in the Restoration world was, there in order to attract the audiences once again. So the Laughing Audience by William Hogarth is a very interesting, painting that refers to the history of the Restoration to a great extent. Okay, Abhay, you can stop the presentation here because we will return to it later on and get back to the talk that I was carrying on. So we have got some kind of an idea about the Restoration so far. So from here, we basically take up the Restoration comedy of manners, and instead of looking at the features, what I usually do is I identify certain keywords. And these keywords are urbanity, wit, licentiousness, a kind of a sexual promiscuity, immorality, fashion, and stock characters. Urbanity, wit, licentiousness, immorality, sexual license, sexual freedom, and stock characters and fashion. So if you look at these, then wit and urbanity are very important. First of all, London was emerging as a city. London was emerging as a major city during this phase of time. And, the theaters were also talking of the London life, because they were talking of the aristocracy. They were also artificial. They were also encouraging and kind of talking of artificiality. And this artificiality and aristocracy were connected. And therefore, these plays were entirely urban plays. In The Way of the World, we have a brief encounter with a country character. So the contrast between the country and the city was also very important, right? Through Sir Wilful Witwoud, who is presented as a fool, who is presented as a country bumpkin, Congreve shows the negative attitude of the urban elite towards the countryside. And the countryside is projected as innocent and good-hearted, because you see, Sir Wilful Witwoud কিন্তু ultimately Millamant-এর ওপর তার যে দাবি সেটা থেকে সরে আসে, because he realizes that Mirabell and Millamant loves each other. So Wilful Witwoud withdraws. And this is one nice thing about the country as well. So there are interesting dynamics of relationship between the country and the city in The Way of the World. But usually the Restoration theater mocks and parodies the country, right? So this is urbanity. Wit is very important. You all know that the Restoration plays are full of witty exchanges. The Way of the World in particular is known for its verbal wit, for its verbal ingenuity, for its raillery, for its intrigues, for its, all sorts of witty exchanges that are there. But what is wit? Today we understand wit as probably something that is connected to humor and intelligence. But in those days, wit was something larger, okay? Wit was something that was connected to not only verbal ingenuity and ability to use the discourse of power, but also a kind of a sense of decorum should have been there, because in Dryden's sense, wit was something that was connected to the notion of decorum, and that is where the true wit had to be distinguished from the false wit. In Congreve's The Way of the World, you have these two kinds of wits, the true wits and the false wits. Who are the false wits or the witwoods? That is Witwoud and Petulant. যাদের যথেষ্ট উইট নেই, মিরাবেল বা ফেইনালের মতো, কিন্তু তারা মানে তারা অ্যাচিভ করতে চায়, তারা এই সোশ্যাল ল্যাডারটা ক্লাইম্ব করে এই উইটের জায়গাটাকে অ্যাচিভ করতে চায়, ঠিক আছে? সো দেয়ার ইজ দিস ডিস্টিংশন দ্যাট ইজ ক্রুশিয়াল between the true wit and the witwood. So wit is a very important aspect of this place. Other than that, sexual promiscuity and immorality, this is a very important issue. Many of us আজকের দিনে দাঁড়িয়ে তোমরা যারা ওয়ে অফ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড পড়েছো, তারা প্রথমেই আমরা শকড হই, we are shocked, right? We are shocked because we are absolutely shocked to find out this lack of any kind of morality. And because we are shocked at the lack of morality, the lack of any kind of moral order, and that is because the sexual promiscuity was being practiced as an order of the day. এবং তার পেছনে কিন্তু একটা এই পিউরিটানসদের বিরোধিতা করার একটা প্রবণতা আছে। চার্লস সেকেন্ড নিজে এসে এই সেক্সুয়াল লাইসেন্সিয়াসনেস, এই মরাল ফ্রিনেস এটাকে endorse করছেন, and as such the aristocracy is moving on towards this kind of a stage where relationships are not trusted, where there is everybody engages in illicit behavior and illicit conduct. But at the same time, remember, by the time we have the Way of the World, this is not as simple as it was around the 1660s. And this is where the Way of the World is different from the early restoration comedies of manners, where we will find greater sexual debauchery, which we do not find in the Way of the World. And there is a critique also that runs parallel to these. So these are very interesting transformations that are gradually taking place, and we will talk about this as well. Next is artificiality, because the aristocracy and the nobility was considered to be greatly artificial, both in their lives, both in their social conduct, and of course on stage. It was a kind of a presentation of an artificiality that they were concerned with. And this has also to do with the elaborate fashion that they were portraying. If you look at the costumes of the age of the Restoration plays, if you look at the elaborate dresses, the wigs that the men were using, so it was even the men had to live up with the fashion of the times. So these are the basic terms with which we wanted to talk of the Restoration theater and the Restoration comedy of manners as such. Now, I mean, my plan is to, I think I will need at least 10 or 15 more minutes after 12. But anyway, so I'll just briefly, for the benefit of the students, we'll just briefly touch upon certain areas of the text. Okay. Now, in the text, we have very interesting scenes carrying on one after the other. But I would first begin with the scene in Act 3. Act 3, Scene 1, where Lady Wishfort's সঙ্গে দেখা করতে এসেছে মিসেস মারউড, এবং এসে বলে দিয়েছে যে এইমাত্র আমি ফয়বলকে দেখলাম মিরাবেলের সঙ্গে কি সব কথাবার্তা বলছিল. This play is based on intrigues and counter intrigues. Almost all Restoration plays are based on intrigues and counter intrigues, and that is where we have to see what Lady Wishfort says. তখন ফয়বল এসছে দেখে লেডি উইশফোর্ড মারউডকে বলছে যে মারউড, তুমি একটু বসো, হ্যাঁ তুমি এখানে একটু বসো, দেখো এখানে কিছু বই রাখা আছে, সেই বইগুলো তুমি পড়ো, আমি ততক্ষণ ফয়বলের সঙ্গে কথা বলে আসি, ঠিক আছে? এবার you see how is Congreve manipulating this, because in those days to be entertained, I mean there were no entertainment options. এমন না যে মিসেস মারউড ততক্ষণ বসে বসে মোবাইলে ফেসবুক করবে, right? So Mrs. Marwood has only the option of reading some books. But Marwood, of course, won't read those books. And what she would do, she would eavesdrop. She would try to listen to the conversation between Foible and Lady Wishfort. কিন্তু এবং সেই জন্য যে বইগুলো সাজেস্ট করা হয় মারউডকে পড়ার জন্য সেগুলো খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট এবং সেগুলো is a direct parody on the Puritans, right? So what I suggest is that in Congreve there is a very subtle humor, there is a subtle parody that is running through these plays, right? Now he suggests Quarles and Prynne, the short view of the stage, and Bunyan's works. These are there. You can entertain yourself. A short view of the stage. Eigulo tintei kintu important works of morality, very highly morally sounding works. And of course, Mrs. Marwood won't read them. And therefore, there is a direct subversion and undercutting of the entire importance associated with those books. এবং এর মধ্যে short view of the English stage, এটা তোমাদের বলে রাখা দরকার যে জেরেমি কোলিয়ার 1698 এ একটা pamphlet publish করেন, a short view of the immorality and profaneness of the English stage, which was considered to be a direct attack, a direct blow on the Restoration Comedy of Manners. And it devastated the Restoration Comedy of Manners. And people say that William Congreve's The Way of the World is a response, is a brilliant response to the attack of immorality against the Restoration plays in general, right? So moving on quickly from here, the next thing that is significant is how Lady Wishfort reacts to the state that of her makeup. তখন বলছে যে thou must repair me, Foible, before Sir Rowland comes, or else I shall never keep up to my picture. আমার যে ছবিটা দেখে স্যার রোল্যান্ড ইমপ্রেসড হয়েছেন সেই ছবিটার মতো তুমি যদি আমাকে না করে দাও তাহলে কিন্তু আমি মানে ছবিটার মতো হব না, তাহলে আর স্যার রোল্যান্ড এর সব ইমপ্রেশন জ্বলে যাবে, রাইট? তখন ফয়বল বলছে যে yes madam, a little art once made your picture like you, and now a little of the same art must make you like your picture must sit for you, madam. So there is a replication. What is interesting here is usually we see art imitates life, but here we see that life is imitating art. I hope you have understood that for একটা সময় লেডি উইশফোর্ট was posing এবং একজন পেইন্টার এসে তার একটা ছবি এঁকেছিল, ঠিক আছে, which was beautiful, but the painting has remained constant. If you remember, if you look at Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, for example, right? So the picture has remained constant, and Lady Wishfort এর ইতিমধ্যে বয়স হয়ে গেছে এবং তাই জন্য আজকে যে ছবিটা দিয়ে স্যার রোল্যান্ড ইমপ্রেসড হয়েছেন, দেখে ইমপ্রেসড হয়েছে, তার মতো হতে গেলে আবার ওই লিটল আর্টটাকে এবার মুখের ওপর মানে পেইন্ট করতে হবে. সো ইটস আ ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং ডাইমেনশন. কনস্ট্যান্টলি রিমেম্বার দ্যাট এর আগেও একটা জায়গায় Congreve is speaking of in a discussion between Mirabell and Millamant. Congreve is saying, or through Mirabell, that your glass is all a cheat, right? Your beauty is not what is reflected by the glass. So what I see, এই যে বিভিন্ন dimensions গুলো আছে এই টেক্সটার মধ্যে, these are all looking at the whole notion of representation, and that is where Congreve's brilliance lies. Because you see, literature has always been concerned with representation, starting from Plato to Aristotle. This whole idea of mimesis and representation has been crucial in literature. Number one, in theater, it takes on a different dimension. It takes on an added dimension. Why? Because the theater is an illusion. The theater is an illusion. It is an illusion of life, and therefore it is another take, another subversion of this whole idea of representation. And within that theater, যখন Congreve, Wishfort বা Foible বা Millamant বা Mirabell এর মতো ফিগার্সদের মধ্যে দিয়ে এই হোল আইডিয়া অফ লাইফ ইমিটেটিং আর্ট বা আর্টিফিসের যে বাইনারি সেইটাকে কোয়েশ্চেন করে, সেটাকে নিয়ে কনসার্ন দেখায়, রাইট? ইট বিকামস অ্যান ইন্টারেস্টিং ডাইমেনশন অফ রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন অ্যাজ সাচ. There is another section in Act 4 which I can't stop mentioning because there is a reference to two Cavalier poets that Millamant makes here. The first is Sir John Suckling. মিলামেন্ট ইজ রিডিং, নিজের মনে আপন মনে মিলামেন্ট সাকলিং আবৃত্তি করছে, ঠিক আছে? এবং সেই সময় স্যার উইলফুল উইটউড ঢুকে কিছু বুঝতে পারছেন। Now there is a linguistic discrepancy basically here between the country and the city. The urban well-bred aristocracy is aware of certain conventions in language which the countryside is unable to comprehend. Okay, and দেখো মিলামেন্ট বলছে, I prithee spare me, gentle boy, press me no more for that slight toy. অত্যন্ত সেক্সুয়াল ইনুয়েন্ডোজ রয়েছে এই দুটো এই কাপলেটটার মধ্যে। তারপরে বলছে, I swear it will not do its part, though thou dost thine, employs thy power and art. Natural, easy suckling, মিলামেন্ট বলছে আপন মন। তো সেই শুনে স্যার উইলফুল উইটউড ভাবছে ওকে সাকলিং বলা হচ্ছে, এন্ড সো देयर इज উইলফুল উইটউড ভাবছে ওকে বাচ্চা ছেলে বলা হচ্ছে, সাকলিং মানে বাচ্চা ছেলে, বেবি। So Sir Wilful বলছে, Anan suckling, no such suckling neither, cousin nor stripling, I thank heaven I am no minor. ঠিক আছে? এবং এতে মিলামেন্ট ইজ গশ, আজকে হলে আমরা এরকম বলতাম, হ্যাঁ, ও গড, ও গশ। যাই হোক, মিলামেন্ট রিঅ্যাকশনটা দিচ্ছে রাস্টিক, ruder than gothic. So you are a rustic, you won't be able to understand what I say. Sir Wilful বুঝছে কিন্তু, হ্যাঁ, well I shall understand your lingo one of these days, cousin. In the meanwhile I must answer in plain English. ঠিক আছে? So there is a linguistic discrepancy, and remember, in this play language and wit are vehicles of power. There is a discourse, it's a politics of discourse, and the urbanity is well versed, has internalized a discourse of wit which the country hasn't. And in order to be part of the aristocracy, you need to have internalized this discourse of wit, and therefore this discourse of wit is connected to a discourse of power. So language here becomes an access to power. ঠিক আছে? And many of the students do not understand. If you try to read The Way of the World, you find it very difficult usually, and you are frustrated. Don't be frustrated, because you see, Sir Wilful Witwoud also doesn't understand what Millamant is speaking. আমরা তো দূরস্থ, and we are Indians. Not only we are Indians, we are 320 years after, we are 320 years separated, far from this thing. So even today, আজকের দিনে লন্ডনের কোন ইউনিভার্সিটি বা কলেজের তোমাদের বয়সী ছেলেমেয়েরা, তাদেরও কিন্তু ওয়ে অফ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড বা শেক্সপিয়ার অ্যাক্সেস করতে গিয়ে একই রকম সমস্যা হয়। But of course, we need to read, we need to study. Only then we can start grasping the meanings that run between the lines. এরপরেই এক মিরাবেল আসছে, এবং সেখানে কিন্তু মিলামেন্ট ততক্ষণে শিফট করে গেছে এডমন্ড ওয়ালারের একটা কবিতাতে। And how does Millamant begin this? দেখো 150 এর পরে মিলামেন্ট বলছে, like Phoebus sung the no less amorous boy, enter Mirabell, এই জায়গায় মিরাবেল ঢুকছে এবং বলছে, like Daphne she, as lovely and as coy. Okay, so you see, what is interesting is this is deliberately done by Congreve so that he can contrast the response that Mirabell gives here to Millamant with that of the response that Sir Wilful Witwoud gave to Millamant. Sir Wilful Witwoud কিচ্ছু বোঝেনি কবিতাটার, অর্থাৎ সেই কালচারাল অ্যাওয়ারনেস Sir Wilful Witwood নেই, কিন্তু মিরাবেলের আছে, indicating that Mirabell is the right match for Millamant. কিন্তু যেগুলো আনসেড থেকে যায়, যে এই কাপলেটটার মধ্যে যে একটা জেন্ডারের ডিসকোর্স রয়েছে, সেটা কিন্তু আনসেড থেকে যায়। এখানে একটা ম্যাসকিউলিনিটির ইন্ডেক্স রয়েছে, সেটাও আমরা ইউজুয়ালি মিস করে যাই, রাইট? আর আজকের দিনে দাঁড়িয়ে, when we look back at the way of the world, these are the things that show us that we need to observe, that we need to critically look at. যেমন ধরো, আবার লাইনটা পড়ছি, like Phoebus sang the no less amorous boy, like Daphne she, as lovely and as coy. কারণ এখানে ফিবাস এবং ড্যাফনির একটা মিথের রেফারেন্স আছে, all of you probably know Phoebus অথবা Apollo. Now this Apollo was the god who was pursuing Daphne, the nymphiad, and Daphne, in order to protect herself from Apollo's advances, obviously sexual advances, Daphne was transformed into a laurel. Now there are several backstories to this. One backstory is that কিউপিড the god of love, আমরা জানি কিউপিড কি করে, তীর তীর ছোড়ে, ঠিক আছে, arrows of love. But you know, Cupid doesn't only throw shafts of love, which is the golden shaft. Now what Cupid did here, in order to revenge on Apollo, Cupid had thrown the golden shaft of love to Apollo. So Apollo was love struck with Daphne. Apollo fell in love with Daphne. Ebong Cupid kintu ekta silver shaft, which is the arrow of hatred, sheta Daphne ke mare, so that Apollo would constantly advance Daphne, and Daphne would constantly reject Apollo. So this was the backstory to this. But what else is there is what we do not get, what we miss out is the masculinity, the premise of assumption that masculinity takes. কারণ তারপরে মিরাবেল কি বলছে দেখো, do you lock yourself up from me to make my search more curious, or is this pretty artifice contrived to signify that here the chase must end and my pursuit be crowned, for you can fly no further. অর্থাৎ মিরাবেল দুটো অপশন দিচ্ছে, যে তুমি কি আমার চেসটাকে আরেকটু কিউরিয়াস করতে চাইছো, নাকি আসলে এটা একটা কন্ট্রাইভড আর্টিফিস, যাতে আমার মানে আলটিমেটলি তোমাকে তো সারেন্ডার করতেই হবে, কিন্তু এই আর্টিফিসটা দেখিয়ে তুমি এই সারেন্ডারের একটাকে আরো কিউরিয়াস করে তুলছো। দেখো মিরাবেল যে দুটো অপশন দেয়, সেখানে একবারও মিরাবেলের এটা মনে হয় না যে মিলামেন্ট হয়তো সত্যিই না বলছে। See, this is what we today refer to as a kind of a toxic masculinity. A toxic masculinity that doesn't even consider the option that the girl whom the man is advancing may not be interested, because popular culture has created this image. Popular culture has constantly constructed this image, right? That the girl would say no initially, but you need to pursue. Finally, the girl would butt in, would accept. And you see, if you look at the run-of-the-mill Hindi films, then this is the discourse that has constantly taken place. Anyway, so this is there. Now, Congreve's mind-eo eta kono bhabe khelche na je eta ekta option hote pare. This is not the case, because Millamant wants to be with Mirabel, Mirabel wants to be with Millamant, so fine. And this inaugurates the proviso scene. Okay, from here we move on to the proviso scene. Just one comment about the proviso scene is that, you see, the proviso scene is very important in the sense that this is an exchange. This has been referred to as a brilliant wit combat. You see, the proviso scene was not something entirely new to the way of the world. It was there earlier, but the way of the world is a brilliant proviso because it shows the wit combat, the ingenuity of verbal wit of the two characters in a brilliant light. Not only that, it also critiques the baseless and lack of foundation in terms of artificial relationships of the couple. So through these provisos, they are basically critiquing this traditional stereotypical restoration attitude to marriage. Fine. So which is why the proviso scene is so important. Now, okay, so this is what we are done with the text, and in the brief time that is left, I will once again get back to this notion of gender, because I was supposed to be highlighting the idea of gender and performance here, and this will take us back to Charles II and also to the actresses of the Restoration. Okay, and we will see how the perceptions were changing with the coming of the inclusion of the actresses. This is something that also is very interesting, because in England we come across the Restoration actresses during this period. I mean, the first actresses before this, এর আগে পুরুষ অভিনেতারা মহিলাদের চরিত্র অভিনয় করত, কিন্তু চার্লস দ্য সেকেন্ড এটা ইনসিস্ট করলেন যে না, মেয়েরা আসুক এবার মেয়েদের রোলস। ইউজুয়ালি আমরা এটাকে ভাবি যে বোধহয় বিরাট উইমেন্স এমানসিপেশন হয়ে গেল, this is a sign of a great freedom of women and all that, but it's not that. It's not like that, because the women is I won't say it's not entirely like that. I would say rather it is an ambivalent response to this. Okay, there is an ambivalence involved in the way we look at this whole phenomenon of the coming of the woman actresses. On the one hand, this is not a sign of women's emancipation. Why? Because the women actresses did not have much social prestige. They were basically, prostitutes, and they entered into several relationships with the aristocracy, the nobility, and then they had to leave their acting careers. The best example is, of course, Nell Gwyn, one of the most famous actresses. Nell Gwyn's career was interesting. Nell Gwyn started as an orange wrench, as an orange seller to the audience. And in one of those shows, she drew Charles II's attention. And since then, after that, Nell Gwyn became an actress. She was a very famous actress. But when she became Charles II's mistress, she had to leave her, career as an acting. The same, thing that you can see is happening in the case of India, in the case of Bengali public theater. যখন প্রথম মেয়েরা অভিনয় করতে আসে বাংলা থিয়েটারে, তারাও কিন্তু they were from the unrespected corners of the society. They were prostitutes. এবং many of them became the keeps of the Bengali babus. Okay, so which in some way or the other interfered in their careers as actresses. So that is one. And how were they portrayed? How were they presented? They were presented in absolutely, sexually objectified manner as objects of male desire. Now, some critics, this is one part of it. The other part is, despite these, women were getting roles, women were being represented, women had something to say on stage. So which is why there was this huge, space of the women. Particularly if you observe, many of these restoration plays had women actors speaking out the prologue or the epilogue. If you look at The Way of the World, the prologue, we usually don't read those sections, but there is a prologue and an epilogue. Okay, there is a dedication to Earl of Montague. So you need to also go through those. The prologue in The Way of the World is spoken by Sir Thomas Betterton. You remember I just mentioned Sir Thomas Betterton, okay, the actor. And the epilogue is spoken by Anne Bracegirdle, one of the leading actresses, once again, one of the celebrity actresses of the period. And this, by speaking out by separately, you see, what is the prologue or the epilogue? It stands outside the play. So it is a different space outside the play that allows the actress or the actor to develop a kind of an interaction with the audience outside the limits of the play, right? So there is this, again, this question of illusion and reality that are deeply enmeshed, and many of these actresses were using these epilogues in order to talk of their culture, their feelings as well. So in that sense, women's representation, women's empowerment was also coming up. I'll just quote another interesting epilogue. Okay, I quote, "Did not the boys act women's parts last age? Last age women's parts to boys ra kaj korto na. Till we in pity to the barren stage came to reform your eyes that went astray and taught you passion, the true English way. Have not the women of stage done this? Have not the women of stage done this? Nay, took all shapes and used most means to please." Right? So women have done all these things. Now, this is an epilogue from Elkan Settle's The Conquest of China by the Tartars. This was a restoration tragedy which was performed in 1676. And here the main character, Lady Mary Lee, is speaking these lines. So basically the woman speaking out on and commenting on the introduction, on the arrival of women. The other thing is, there is another interesting, reference that I would like to briefly talk of. Kirsten Pullen. Kirsten Pullen has done a very interesting recent work on restoration actresses. And there she says that female sexuality becomes a threat to the dominant patriarchal order. Okay. Now, female sexuality being a threat to the dominant patriarchal order, because when the woman is in control of her sexuality, right, that is something that is entirely different than the patriarchal society's projection of the woman as a sexual object of desire. Okay, so what the restoration playwrights are doing is that they're constantly objectifying the woman as a sexual, product of desire, as a commodity, and that is a kind of tension is going on. Okay, and Kirsten Pullen refers that male order can marginalize or erase the specter of female power, unquote, by converting the actress into a sexual object. Okay, so these problems of desire, these problems of the representation of female sexuality is very strongly there. Another interesting thing is, I have referred to Samuel Pepys earlier also. Samuel Pepys was this diarist. Not only Samuel Pepys, but Evelyn was also there, and these diarists are have very significant contributions to the Restoration world order. And also Samuel Pepys went to the theaters, and he has written at occasionally about the Restoration theater as well. September 1662-তে 1662 সেপ্টেম্বরে স্যামুয়েল পেপিস একটা মিডসামার নাইটস ড্রিমের প্রোডাকশন দেখতে গেছিল। ঠিক আছে, শেক্সপিয়ার কিন্তু গোটা রেস্টোরেশন জুড়ে রিভাইভড হয়েছে, 18th সেঞ্চুরিতেও হয়েছে, শেক্সপিয়ারের একটা কন্টিনিউয়াস পারফরমেন্স চলছিল। কিন্তু স্যামুয়েল পেপিস ডিসলাইকড দিস প্রোডাকশন অফ মিডসামার নাইটস ড্রিম at the King's Theatre এবং বলছে যে, I quote, an insipid, ridiculous play. মিডসামার নাইটস ড্রিম কে বলছে স্যামুয়েল পেপিস an insipid, ridiculous play. কিন্তু he says that only one thing I liked about the play. What was that? সেটা হচ্ছে the good dancing and handsome women. The good dancing and handsome women. ঠিক আছে? So you can understand how the presence of the woman on stage, or the woman actress on stage, was actually a kind of a gratification of the male sexual desire, of the aristocracies. There are many other references across the pamphlets. Even Addison and Steele are writing about the way the Restoration audience is responding to the actress. There is another thing. There is a couch scene that are developed. This became a stock. This became a stereotype. The couch scene, okay, where the woman would half lie on the couch, something that you see Lady Wishfort is also doing, and when she's expecting Sir Roland to come, and this would be presenting herself once again in a sexually gratified way, and also be vulnerable at the same time, revealing herself. Okay, so the couch scene was again a stereotype that the Restoration comedies and also the tragedies were using to a great extent. Now, briefly, I will come back to Lady Wishfort, because I will close this talk by talking about Lady Wishfort, by referring to Lady Wishfort. See, what is your perception of Lady Wishfort? How does Congreve present Lady Wishfort? She's an old woman. She's 60 plus, and she's the butt of comic ridicule. She is in charge of the entire property, but she is unable to, get hold, or control that, because of her aberrations, because of her sexual desire, because of her desire to engage in another relationship, and therefore she is laughed at by almost everybody, right? I don't exactly remember the line right now, but at some point of time, Mirabell and Mrs. Fainall are discussing that Lady Wishfort, whenever she comes across something like a man, she would engage in that. So there is a ridicule, there is a parodying of Lady Wishfort that is going on, an emotion that many of us also share at some point of time. See, we need to rethink this, because in a world if the way of the world is an authentic representation of the sexual debauchery, of the predatory sexuality, of the licentiousness of the period, then why should we have problems with Lady Wishfort particularly in engaging in new relationships even when she is past her prime? Is it because she is past her prime? Is it because we at some point of time we have a mindset that is that there is a particular age beyond which you cannot have a desire, right? So these things need to be questioned. And in an age where the restoration rate, I'm not saying that this is right or this is, we should not make value judgments about these things, but if the restoration rate has every right to sacrifice his entire property, because you remember the aristocratic nobility during those days, what they did was they ended up as paupers. There was a debtor's prison, there was a debtor's prison. যারা ধার শোধ করতে পারতো না তাদেরকে ওই ডেটার্স প্রিজনে গিয়ে বন্দি করে রাখা হতো। এরকম বহু অ্যারিস্টোক্রেটিক নোবিলিটির মানুষ আছে যারা এই ডেটার্স প্রিজনেই বাকি জীবনটা তাদের কাটাতে হতো, কারণ তারা তাদের সমস্ত অর্থ, তারা তাদের সমস্ত উপার্জন, তাদের হিউজ প্রপার্টি, they have wasted and they have ended the whole of it after the pursual of a predatory sexuality and a life of debauchery and rakish behavior. So if that is permissible, if that is okay, if the restoration world is okay with that, what is the problem with Lady Wishfort, right? So in a way we need to rethink this. So I would see that the attitude that Lady Wishfort that is there about Lady Wishfort is highly gendered, is highly problematic, and we need to question that. And there is, with reference to gender, there's one thing that you also need to know. Bonamy Dobryr একটা term আছে, which is sex antagonism, right? Sex antagonism, I mean, Bonamy Dobryr বলছেন যে এই restoration plays গুলোতে sex antagonism drives the purpose of these restoration plays to a great extent. Okay, it is a kind of a new equation, a new kind of a relationship that is being forged. Newer relationships are being forged. Okay, and this is where there is a tension between the authority, the male authority, between law, between the woman's possession of property and the emergence of the new woman as well. Okay, so all these things are being interplayed, and therefore the sex antagonism is one of the signs in which we could read the gender politics and its connection, of course, with performance in the way of the world. Right, I think I should conclude here. I have been speaking a lot about this. Abhay, so yeah, please, I have ended.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this interesting and insightful lecture. And Aratrika, yeah, now it is over to you.
If anyone wants to question or ask anything to sir, they can now ask. Or you can write
Can
in the
come
chat.
up with queries. Yeah, the participants can now come up with any queries if they have.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, ask your question.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I am Palas Biswas, and I am urging you, sir, to leave a conscious talk on that rake culture that flourished in the restoration period, and how did Congreve imprint this culture in this play, The Way of the World?
Now, just repeat which key culture বললে আমি বুঝতে পারলাম না।
I think he is talking about the rake culture.
Rake culture.
Is it for us?
Yes, sir. Rake culture.
Rake culture.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes, I mean that's that is very much there, but in Congreve's The Way of the World, I won't say there is any rape or the reference to the rape culture, but you see the restoration tragedies were very much using the idea of the rape and the rape was also being misused, I would say, in order to create sensation, in order to create once again a sexual gratification and a titillation. So an objectification of the woman was being represented in the predominant scenes of rape that were there in many restoration plays, but it's not there in Congreve's The Way of the World. Although I would like to connect this with the violence that is associated, that is meted out on women. So it's about Fainall's treatment of Lady Wishfort. It's about Fainall's treatment of Mrs. Fainall, and to a certain extent also Mirabell's treatment of Mrs. Fainall and Lady Wishfort. So there is a sense of violence which is associated with the patriarchal control over women and women's bodies, which The Way of the World briefly talks of. Okay, and so I think that is there, and we can connect this with the idea of the rape that was there, but there's no explicit reference to rape as such in The Way of the World. Okay. There is another thing that I would like to. Okay, Onik Roy is saying something. Yes.
Sir, what is a discourse? What is a discourse?
I mean, you see, you have asked the most difficult question. Discourse is a language, a way of speaking. Okay, if we simply look at it, is a way of speaking, but discourse has been understood in cultural studies very differently from different perspectives. Dhoro ekta example ami jeta usually di, dhoro ekhane jara acho, right now there are 58 participants here who are listening to this online lecture. Malda College has organized several of these series of lectures. Okay, so ei je ekhane jehetu amra we are joined by our disciplines. ঠিক আছে, আমাদের ডিসিপ্লিন যেটা ইংলিশ লিটারেচার বা কালচারাল স্টাডিজ, এইটা এর একটা নিজস্ব ডিসকোর্স আছে। এই ডিসকোর্সটা মানে একটা ধরন অফ স্পিকিং, the languages that we employ, the critical tools that we engage in while speaking of English literature and cultural studies, এটা আমাদের ডিসকোর্স। এবার তুমি ধরো কালকে তো আজকে তো 5 তারিখে কমার্স ডিপার্টমেন্টের একটা মালদা কলেজেরই বড় সড়ো একটা ওয়েবিনার আছে, তাই তো? তো সেটা যদি তুমি if you are a part, if you become a part of this, তুমি দেখবে যে they are also talking of COVID-19 and its economic impact and all sorts of things, but they are not talking in the way we do. So it's the discourse of the discipline that varies, right? So a kind of a language, a kind of a specialized communication that we use in order to speak amongst each other in terms of a particular subject. Discourse is not easy to understand. You have to study a lot in order to go through discourse. Ekhane in The Way of the World, what I meant was language becomes an index to a discourse of power. অর্থাৎ পাওয়ারের একটা নিজস্ব ডিসকোর্স আছে, ঠিক আছে? ক্ষমতা, পুরুষতন্ত্র, প্যাট্রিয়ার্কি, এগুলোর প্রত্যেকের একটা নিজস্ব ডিসকোর্স আছে। এবং এখানে উইট আর যে ভার্বাল উইট, সিচুয়েশনাল আইরনি, এগুলো যে ব্যবহার হচ্ছে, এগুলো এই ডিসকোর্সটার একটা পার্ট হয়েছে ইন দ্য ওয়ে অফ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড, রাইট?
So Nisha has okay.
হ্যাঁ বলো আরাত্রিকা, বলো, তুমি বলো।
So Nisha has asked a question: what were the religious characteristics during the Restoration period?
Religious characteristics were there, but there was a sense of ridicule as well. Okay, because the aristocracy was heavily attacking the Puritans, and the Puritans, any kind of morality, bolo ba, the attitude towards religion is connected to morality, and the Puritans were attacking. I'm sorry, the aristocrats were attacking that. So there was a ridicule of religion also to a certain extent, and there was this internal politics of the Church of England, the Protestantism, because I forgot to mention Catherine of Braganza, Charles II's wife, right, who was from Portugal, and it was suspected, or these were much of the politics directed against her, because it suspect kora hoto je she was Protestant, and which is why she was more and more marginalized. So these stories are always there. In Way of the World, we find the marriages, illicit marriages are taking place in churches outside the limits of the city, and those churches are known for conducting these illegal marriages and illicit marriages. Even Hogarth's painting এর মধ্যেও আমরা এই ধরনের কিছু references দেখতে পাই. Okay, so yes, it was there. It was marginal to a certain extent. Yes. Okay, just one thing I just forgot to add. Remember, যে দেখো একটা basic জিনিস about the Way of the World is that the Mirabell and Mirament are a new age couple, and they are showing mutual trust. তাদের রিলেশনশিপটা একটা মিউচুয়াল ট্রাস্টের উপর বেসড, ঠিক আছে? And because of the proviso scene and the end of it, there is a kind of a confirmation that Mirabell and Mirament will be a better couple compared to the lack of trust in the restoration. ঠিক আছে? এই যে ট্রেন্ডটা কিন্তু একটা মুভমেন্ট away from the restoration world of immorality and licentiousness towards a world of sentimentality. এটা আমরা দেখতে পাই, ঠিক আছে? কারণ 18th century শুরু থেকে gradually after the end of restoration theater we would move on towards the world of sentimental drama, and Congreve becomes popular. Congreve the World becomes popular later on. ঠিক আছে? 1700 কিন্তু Congreve Way of the World wasn't popular. It would become popular later on, and probably because of the streak of sentimentality that is there. Yeah.
Sir, hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, Akbar, please ask the question.
Sir, I want to ask you that what are characters, The Way of the World, written by William Congreve? Because, please, once tell me character's name.
কি ক্যারেক্টার্স নেমস?
Yes, sir.
ওটা বইতে আছে, বইটা খুলে ভালো করে দেখো, এটা আমি বলবো না। আচ্ছা আরাত্রিকা, if we have had the questions, I think we are approaching 12:30, so I think we will, if there is no other question, we can close it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think there are two important questions that you can address. One is from Rupashri Shankar Mondal. She has asked, how did French literature influence the play The Way of the World? And another from Paula Vishas, who is asking the question regarding the issue of law of property and marriage contracts that might be there, you know.
Okay, you see, Polash has already asked a question. ঠিক আছে?
Yeah, right.
Okay, even then, law, legality এবং marriage contracts were very important. This is part of the transformation that was taking place. As I told you, The Way of the World was performed in 1700, and The Way of the World is a representation of the transformation in the society that has already taken place. So the influx of the middle classes. The middle classes were dissatisfied with the immorality, with the profaneness, with the sexual debauchery. So they were becoming an important voice of concern here. Okay, and that is reflected in the rising importance of legal contracts towards the end of the restoration period, towards the last few decades of the 17th century. ঠিক আছে? তাহলে marriages were contracts basically. There is an attitude, there is a rise in the respectability of law, এবং সেটা কিন্তু জন লকের ফিলোসফি, জন লকের লেখা থেকেও অনেকটা ইনফ্লুয়েন্সড, quite influenced by the rise of John Locke's writings on law. So law, property, these are very intricately connected. There is a respectability that law emerges, which is why the Fainal Kintu cannot challenge Mirabal. When Mirabal has produced the black box full of the documents that have basically nullified Fainal's claims, Fainal cannot challenge that, because he also knows that he has to respect law. Okay, so law, property, and marriage, these are interconnected. Fine. And about the first question, and that is how the French were very influential, because Charles II's formative ideas about literature took place in France, and that is where he was exposed to theater, that is where he was exposed to comedy. But it would be wrong to think that the entire Restoration theater was influenced by the French. There was the Italian Commedia dell'arte tradition that I spoke of was also there. Molière was a very important source. Okay, many of the plays that was written during the Restoration theaters, Restoration period, the comedies of manners, many of these plays were based and influenced by Molière. And even there, the stock characters are there, those intrigues are there, those comedies are there. Okay, so these were very much there, right? Is this good enough?
Yeah, I think. Aratrika?
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful lecture. Now I request AK Madam to please conclude the session with her vote of thanks. I think she is here.
Thank you, Aratrika. First of all, I'd like to thank the principal of Malda College for allowing us to arrange this kind of webinar. And many thanks to Dr. Shomipendra Banerjee for having delivered this invaluable lecture on restoration comedy and the way of the world. When we go through a specific text, I think the major question remains with us is that why do we read the text till now? So still now we read the way of the world, we go through new interpretations, and the point which Shomipendra has focused today, that was gendered versions of the text, the gendered problems of the text, which are still now, I think, are very valid. And the deep insight, the deep insight that he has put into the matters, into the topics, those I think will help and enthuse the students to rethink the text. That is the most important thing. So in these COVID days, when we are confined at our homes, secured boundary, still we can connect each other and can have this kind of valuable lectures going on, interactions. So once again, thanks to the college authority, thanks to the department who have taken all the pain to arrange everything. And finally, once again, thank to Dr. Shomipendra Banerjee, who will once again come to us probably on 9 with his lecture on Show Walter. So that's much for today.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again for arranging this privilege. I hope the students have really benefited. And if they have any questions, they can get back to me, through Aratrika or Abhay.
Okay. Thank you very much.